Is the slide visible?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Okay. This topic is on training waste handlers. Why train the waste handlers? Because I think these are the critical people who are at a high risk and who needs training and proper instructions so that they are well informed and take necessary precautions because they are highly uh, prone for occupational injuries. Okay. Now, before going on to the actual topic, let me just look at what do you mean by communication? What is this training all about? Basically, what we understand is communication is a two-way process of exchanging or sharing of ideas or feelings or attitudes or emotions and informations. So, what is this meant for? Basically, to desire change. We are desiring a change in human behavior and to achieve predetermined goals. So, if you look at the process of, is the slide moving? Are the slides
Moving,
moving?
ma'am.
Yeah, thank
Yes,
you.
ma'am.
So we
Yes,
have
ma'am. Slides,
four
ma'am.
different components. We have a sender, we have a receiver at another end. In between, we have a message which will move from a channel of communications. And always we must remember that communication is not one way thing, it has to be having a loop of feedback so that it completes the process of communication. The feedback can be either positive or negative, but we need to have so that we understand it better. So this is how it happens. When a process is looked at, we have a sender who gives the message to the receiver, which is again decoded by the receiver and it's sent back to the sender as what they've understood, what they have not understood. Now, so we have three important components where we have sender, message, and a receiver. So all these three are very important for us to make an effective communication. Or it just means even in our talking process, communication, general communication, or health education or training, wherever it is, this applies to everything. So a sender must know what is his or her objective is. He has to have a clear definition. What is he trying to intend? For example, if I'm here as a sender, I want to be very clear as what is my objective today. Basically, I want to cover the topic of my 102, whatever it is, unit 4, and give a message for you people. That is meant. And I should know my audience. What are their areas? What are their interests and what is their needs? And also, you must know what is my message which I want to give it to you. What is the quantum of the message I have to give, and what are the channels of communications which I have to need. And also, I must be aware of my professional abilities and limitations. I'll switch on the video because I need to demonstrate to you some of the communications. Okay, so and I, as a sender, must be knowing my abilities and also my limitations. If I am not competent enough of some of the topics, it's better I do not venture into that. Or if a situation arises where I have to answer certain questions, I must admit that I do not know that and I will come back after some clarification. So, that kind of clarity we need to have as a sender. And also, we must be aware of barriers of communications, what is coming in the way. For example, simple, our communication here, I am not knowing what you people are doing, correct? And because this is a different platform altogether, I should know what is the communication barrier I have. I may have external sound they are making or technical glitches which come in my way, and I must be prepared for that. How do I handle that? And again, as a receiver, I should know what are the baseline knowledge you have or baseline attitude or practice you have, and what are the opinions or attitudes or prejudice you already have, because that is very important. Because we have to certain sometimes unlearn certain things and learn things. Okay, receivers again can be controlled or uncontrolled. You now as together we are under control. In the control, I may not say it's completely controlled. I know the number of people who are there, who are the ones who are interested and who want to learn about biomedical waste. That's why you are there. So that is control group. Uncontrolled, you say some public speech is going on. Some people keep coming and some people going based on the interest of the topic. They might go. You have this mass gatherings, no, where political speeches happen. So it all depends of many factors which will make the group be there or not. Okay. Anytime, any questions you have, you are welcome to stop me. Okay. Next important thing is feedback. What is feedback? Is the return of information to the sender. So the sender should know whether the message what I am giving to the receiver as it reached to the right information has gone to them and what is their opinion. So this will help us to refine our presentations or refine our way of teaching in the better way. And also context, in what context we are sending, what are the physical settings we have, where the social context we have through which our messages are going. Now, coming to the messages, could be verbal and non-verbal. I think you're all aware. Verbal, what I'm talking, what sentences I'm framing, what I'm telling with the different voice modulation. This is all verbal component, verbal way of expressing messages. But as I talk, you are observing my non-verbal communication also. You may be looking at the presenter's dress code, what is the presentation skills, body language. Okay, so these are some of the things which are their part of communication. See, as a presenter, I will not just stand like this and present. Correct? There is some body language on my side and dress code, whatever it is. So you must remember that when we are speaking, people not only judge our speech, they also judge us. So, as a trainer or a communicator, we must be aware of this and accordingly, we need to be prepared. Next, voice. I think this is one of the medium of our messages. So, how should the voice be? Each one have some different talent. Anyway, we must keep certain basic things so that it is easier for the other people to understand what we are talking. Better. The ideal situation it should be pleasant and it should be natural, dynamic, so that there is some variation and it's not monotonous, and expressive wherever possible, and easily heard, and so that there is no there should be very clear as what they are talking. And loudness also, it should not be too loud or too low. Again, pitch should not be too low or too high pitch. Voice quality also matters. Sometimes you see some voices are very nice, some may not be. Okay, it's all up to them. But anyway, it should be pleasant. And articulation and the rate of speech, some will be very fast, some will be very slow. For me, I think many rate me as little bit faster itself. Anyway, see, as I talk, you will be also noting all these things. So, okay, all this have a bearing on of your listening skills based on the speaker's quality of the speaker. You will be invariably in the background. You will be looking at all these things. So now, other important thing is the non-verbal communication. I think you've all seen this. Can I just get examples of these? What do you mean by posture? So that let us
Body language, ma.
pardon? Body
Body
language.
movement,
Okay, body
facial
language.
expression.
Proximity. Now, again, we are proximity. I should not sit too far or I should not come too front also, correct? I'm just giving the example of this platform because I'm doing here. Even in the classroom setting, we should not be very close to the students or very far off from the students. Otherwise, they disconnect from each other. Again, touch can help us sometimes. Okay, not every time. As a patient-doctor relationship, touch becomes very important. Body movements also should be appropriate. Facial expressions, I'll explain a little more. Eye behavior, vocal cues, use of time, physical presence, and environment. All these are non-verbal communication. Let me go on to the components. I've heard of postures and gestures. See, posture, now I'm sitting, whether I'm sitting properly or I'm sitting relaxed or standing and erect. So you will be looking, observing the posture, how the person is standing or sitting, whether he's stooping down or drooping his shoulders and relaxed. Your posture will also tell to what extent your speaker is getting involved in your talk and to what extent they are trying to teach you. Next, proximity. That is this use of space in and around. Now, as a online platform, I do not have the scope of utilizing my space. I am just confined to the chair and in front of your system and trying to see how best I must communicate to you. So, as I told, physical distance also important. Touch. Sometimes this will be useful if we are in the physical. What to say, physical stand, we can have a handshake, pat, physical contact, which help the people to learn. For example, a bystander, if he does good job, you can give him a handshake. You did a good segregation thing, something like that, which will encourage the participants to be more attentive in the class. Now, coming to the body movements, that is, you have hand and arm gestures, fidgeting, nodding, foot and leg movements. I think in your classrooms and all, you would have seen. We would mark, right? The teachers, if they have some repetitive gestures or thing, we keep marking, like somebody saying, or even when talking also, when some people keep repeatedly talking, they'll be using certain words, we keep a track of that. So these are things which we must be aware of and try to reduce that, because sometimes when the students get bored or the participants get bored, they tend to focus on that and forget on the topic. So gestures are something which are, usually we talk of hand and arm gesture, descriptive gesture. For example, I'll say if it's round, if I want to show it is round, I can show this. This will make you understand that I'm talking of round or flower. Okay, these are some of the gestures we use. Emphatic gestures like clenching fist, that is called as emphatic gestures. Suggesting gestures like open arm. What is this? You didn't tell me the answer. So these are all suggestive gestures that you are not happy or you're very happy. Okay, and prompting gestures are telling them people, instead of telling to clap,
Expressions.
you may say, come on, clap. Okay, in the auditorium and all, we see that doing, right? So these are called as different gestures which will help you to be effective communicators. Any questions here? Okay, facial expressions. Again, face is our what? It's a mirror of our mind, is what they say, right? Facial expressions, your raised eyebrows, frowning or smiling, crying. This will show a lot of emotions or your reactions to certain things, which will help the participants to understand what the speaker or the sender is trying to communicate. Next, eye contact. This is one more important thing. See, especially when we are in a physical thing, we need to have eye contact, so that the eye contact should be such that it should not be very staring and it should be scaring. Okay, it should be comfortable for the sender as well as for the receiver, so that they are comfortable with both of them. And eye contact should not be focused on only a single person. It has to be for the whole group. Okay, and voice, again I told you should have appropriate pitch, rate, rhythm, volume, silence, pause, intonations. And if there are some speech errors, you must avoid as much as possible. But sometimes it happens, it's okay, no issues, because we are not all perfect orators. No harm, but we can correct and go on while talking. Is there any doubt till here? I want to know whether you're listening to me in the first place.
Yes, ma'am.
No, ma'am.
Yes, thank you. So communications, if you look at, there are different communications. One is one-way communications. Now what I'm doing is predominantly one-way communications. If we have both the sides, it's two-way communication. I'm trying to bring in two-way communication so that I need interaction from your end also. Verbal and non-verbal, I've already explained. Your communication will always have, though it is predominantly verbal, non-verbal will be part of our verbal communication. We tend to inbuilt within our communication, with our knowingly or unknowingly, we do have normal verbal communication coming along with our verbal communication. And other thing is the formal and non-formal communication. Formal communications, your all your notices, circulars, all those are formal. Non-formal, in the workplace, we sometimes we communicate certain things without actual formality. So, what are the channels of communication? It could be one to one, or one to group, or it could be mass media. Or nowadays, we also look at, if you are looking for the community, we look for like traditional or folk video as well. Well, while we are talking of communication, there could be barriers in communication. This is one of your questions very commonly asked. We have, say, physiological barrier, psychological barrier, environmental barrier, social cultural barrier, and attitudinal barrier. Can anyone tell, is there any of these barriers as I talk to you? Give example for what are the barriers which I come in my way of communication to you here with these headings. Try attempting. Is there
Sociocultural,
any barrier? Yes.
sociocultural,
Socio-cultural. Why you feel so? There could be socio-cultural barrier.
because it is an important role in our life.
Pardon? Sorry, I didn't hear you. Can you repeat?
Sociocultural,
Environmental barrier, ma'am.
Environmental barrier, what could be the environmental barrier which can come here?
Due to some technical issues, sometimes we can't.
Technical issues I can
Yes.
be there. As I talk, there could be some noise, construction workers work going on which may disturb my talking. Yes, good. Could there be psychological barrier?
Sociocultural barrier, we will facing many kinds of peoples, so they interrupted us and they also uh,
Yeah.
trying to communicate with us.
Okay, good. Psychological barriers can be there. If I am not in a mood to tell, I may not be effective
Ma'am,
communicator.
if
Or
we
if
have
you are not in a mood to listen, you may not listen, right? You may having some disturbance. Okay, that can come in a way. Physiological
if we have any any example, then we can also spell. We need
example
example.
is
Ma'am, give some examples of the
huh,
psychological.
psychological, is it?
Yeah, ma'am. We need the examples so that we can also
Psychological,
spell.
basically, I'm depressed, I'm not happy, I don't want to listen. You're talking, but I'm not able to listen. Okay, that is psychological. Physiological, like I'm not able to see properly. I've left my specs back there at home and I'm just listening to you. So I may not be able to see, or I may not be hearing properly, hearing defect I have. So I may not be able to hear. So these are all physiological conditions which come in my way. Environmental, as I told, disturbances, technical, all those environmental outside, whatever disturbance are there. Socioculture even could be language issue. Now I'm talking in English. Some of them may not be able to understand, especially waste handlers. They may not understand English. I may be comfortably talking in English, but they're not able to understand. Without even understanding their background, I may talk, which is not going to be effective. Last is the attitudinal. I feel I am great. That person doesn't know. It doesn't know. Or why should I listen to him? He is always arrogant. I don't want to listen. So these are the attitudinal issues which will come in our way. Okay. If you broadly look at, we can look at that there could be any in the sender way or in the recipient end or the method breakdown. We say sender breakdown. If the information is too long or if there is language issues, there is no communication. Okay, in the methodology what we adopt, if it is too lengthy information, and always written communication is better than oral. Sometimes what we tell may not be able to understand, written may be better, written may be again they may not be able to read. So if infographics are there or pictures are there, okay, or the demonstration if you do, that will be better rather than only talking. Okay, so these are our methodology background. Last is recipient breakdown. If you tell whatever you want, if there is the attitude of the person, it doesn't want to learn but is come forcibly to your training program, there is no point, correct? You may tell whatever you want, but the person is not interested, the very thing only is stopped, so you will not learn. So these are the barriers in communication. So, how to remove the barriers? So, you as a speaker should be aware of the problems and see what are the options available, alternate options, identify the groups, and accordingly you tweak your methodology and try to assess the, try to communicate yourself. So, for a clear information, these are some of the tips we must keep. Collect what information you want to give, know your audience very well, and keep to the essentials. What is minimum, you keep. Plan your presentation, the tone, the way you want to present, the methodology, what audiovisual aids you will use, and choice of language is very important. Now, as a medium of English, I know you all can understand I'm talking. Or sometimes it may be so some are comfortable in Hindi, but I'm talking in English, maybe they're not understanding. So that is a barrier which we are not in a position to address immediately. And get quickly to the point. Don't dwell too much on. You have to always, whenever you start a communication, we have to we call what is called a set induction. That is, you are trying to give a entry point where there is interest in the arousing the interest in the people who are listening. But always don't take too much of time. Get come quickly to the point. Excuse me. And use the everyday language. Simple. Let me give an example. Many people will not understand diabetes or hypertensive. Okay, they may say they have BP or they have sugar. That is the language we must use, and use appropriate body language. And your speed should be usually, they say, about 15 to 20 words in a sentence. Should not have a very lengthy sentence because people won't follow. You have to give a pause. and encourage to listen and encourage to interact. That will make things better and effective communication. Okay, this is the effective communication cycle where we develop, prepare, listen, understand, speak, and ask. Okay, let me not go into the detail. Now let's go to the training of waste handlers. Now, what are the critical elements of learning? One is we have to first motivate, reinforce so that then only they will keep understanding. And after that, we have to retain that whatever the skills or knowledge we have learned, and that they should have in the position to transfer to the other end, next person. Now, but we have a challenge here. All of us are adults. We have already crossed the era of like going to school learning, but still we are in the process of learning. But we have certain challenges as a learner. Let me increase the slide. Okay. Um, as a adult learners are usually autonomous and self-directed. They like to be self-directed. Like you also, right? We not spoon feed you all for you because you can learn by yourself. You are having freedom, and you come with a experience of rich life experience and knowledge. So we must keep in that mind that not that they are not literate or not informed at all. They don't have any knowledge. It is not like that. They already have experience. It's only that we need to fine tune or focus on the knowledge what we want to give, and they have a goal oriented. They are attending a training means health workers or whatever it is, they have something in mind. They have asked to been asked to do it, and they are goal oriented and relevancy oriented. Only if it's relevant to them they will learn. Simply pushing down some topic to them, they will definitely not learn. And most of the time if it is practical they will understand. If it is more of theory, they do not like. And when we are talking to any group D or level workers, they need respect because they're adult. We need to respect them, and along with that we need to motivate them. The motivation for them can come from various reasons. It could be social welfare for them. They feel I have to learn new things, I have to generalize, so I'll come. Next, social relationship. I want to build relationship. I want to make new friends. I'll ask me to attend a training. I'll come with that motivation. Or any external expectation. I'll want to improve myself. It's a thing. Or personal advancement. I want to learn new things. I want to grow in my career or in my knowledge or understanding. I'll do it. Or I'm doing routine things, so let me come here, escape from the routine boredom and come and attend. So these are some of the different reasons for why they will be motivated. We must look at for such motivation and try to push them to come to the training. Now, what are the methods of teaching? It could be instructor centered. There are different types: instructor centered, content centered, learner centered, and participatory learning. Instructor centered means here the focus is on us. As a teacher, I feel I am an expert. I'll talk, you listen. That's the instructor centered. That is not a very good mode. Second is content centered. That is the topic is interest. I'll give the participant also to learn. Both are equally the same. Learner centered is something interesting where now most of your learning is being basically learner centered, right? You are the main learner. We only act as facilitator. Okay. In participatory learning, both the teacher and the student together learn and work out the problems. So that is different types of teaching. So finally, what we are trying to do in health education is we are trying to change the knowledge or the attitude or the practice for basically any change in these components for a positive health to lead a socially productive life. This can happen at an individual level or a community level. Okay, what we must keep certain principles while we are planning. So you must know what is the credibility. That is the information what you are giving. Is it correct? You must be correctly aware of that. And like soil seeds, our what I was telling that the one who is giving the information, and the one who is receiving the information, we must be very well aware. So based on the group of people whom I am talking, your content or the methodology also should vary. And know the interests of your participants. Look out for participation motivation and comprehensive cover the topic completely. And more important for good health education or any behavior change, if we are looking at, we need to reinforce one again and again. Okay. and give an opportunity that, especially learning by doing, on role play and demonstration, these are the things which will remain in their mind very long. And always start from known to unknown. Don't go directly to the unknown. Start with what they know, and from there you build up your concepts and teach them. And you set an example. For example, as a doctor, if I am not segregating my waste, I don't have the morality to tell my subordinates to segregate the waste. And the other thing is, your good human relationship with the people will motivate people to follow you and follow good practices. And always keep a feedback open loop so that you are open to their suggestions and correct them along with you. So, for practice of health education, we need audiovisual aids and also choosing of appropriate group methods. It could be individual approach, that is one to one, I can teach them, or one to small group, or one to mass. Okay, these are the different methods in health communications. So there are different methods. Let me just go to few of them which you can adopt, especially for the waste standards. Lecture, I think you all have heard of this. This is the most common and familiar mode. It will be well structured, comprehensive coverage, you can see, and face to face learning is possible in this. But disadvantage, it is most of the time it's one way, and it can be monotonous and boring. And it is difficult if the person, especially the new speaker, is dependent on the slides and those things. Tutorials, this is again, you see, no tuitions and all, where they have one to a smaller group of focus. This has better interaction, and here it is individualized attention. So here there is opportunity for more interaction, more demonstration, expansion and elaboration. And this is one of the effective forum for learning and feedback. Next is the demonstration. This is method of teaching as to show. I keep four colored bins and I give some waste and ask them to. I'll show them where I put it. That is called as demonstration. Demonstration followed by hands-on training. You give the waste to them and ask them to put it in one of the color code. That will have a very good impact. And this is especially useful for training on skills. Okay, and this will satisfy all the adult principles of learning, and it will have a lasting impression. So, especially for waste handlers, the topics you can choose many things, but most important ones are like how to use PPE, like how to hand hygiene and when to hand hygiene steps you can teach them by demonstration and ask them to follow. Waste segregation or technology use, how to operate autoclave. Okay, all these things can be a component of your demonstration. Group discussion is one more thing. In the smaller group, we interact and find out what are the problems they have. Is there anything which they can do? Especially to come out with some solutions, we can go for small focus group discussion, which will bring out the problems and also try to get some problems also from that. Okay. The other thing is work-based experiential learning. This is like our trainees. Some of the people are posted as our interns, right? This is basically we get an extra workers at low cost, and they are potential recruit with trial and no obligation for you to recruit. If they are not good enough, you can remove them. If they're good enough, you can bring them into your system, and they'll know the workplace culture. You can take them if they're really good, and new ideas can come in, and it is a staff development opportunities. So coming to the audio visual aids, I'll not go into the details. It's in your book. You can have a look at it. We have basically three components. That is the audio aids, visual aids, and the combined aids. Now with the digital media, mobile and all, we have most of it is combined. Now mobile also is there, no? Even LCDs also, now it's no more just one visual. It is combined. We have audio, videos can be played very easily, and we can bring in effective training program in place. So tips, however, you must remember audio visual aids is only aid. As the name says aid, it is going to aid you as a speaker. So the speaker is the most important person. So you must be using it as a aid and not a predominantly depend. If in case for me the system, I am not able to open the slide and I cannot show, I must be ready as a backup plan to do what next. If it is a physical class, we must be ready. LCD current goes, what we do, what electric current goes, we must be ready with a black and chalkboard. So that kind of preparation is required. Plan ahead, kill, they say. That is, keep it large and legible. Don't crowd your slides and limit the information, and be aware of the students' view. Be aware of your barriers of communication, and don't read completely from the transparencies. Okay, and if they are want to copy down, please allow time to copy down. Okay, here you have our book, so I am not allowing you the time to copy down. Now coming to the how to organize it a training plan, we need to have administrative clearance, because when you are talking of training, you are going to involve costs, as well as you need to mobilize the people from their workplace. Okay, because all of these are people who are working in your areas, so you need to get clearances and also instructions saying that to depute them or relieve them from duty for attending the training program. So those kind of clearances and instructions have to go from the higher ups. Identify the resources for training and also venue, fix the venue and convenient date and time and logistics, and choose appropriate aid, and also identify what message you want to communicate. Not all the messages you can communicate in a single training program. In fact, you can have simple training programs for specific activities. You can have an anti-hygiene class itself, or you can have waste segregation class itself. So because because they have to be working as well as being trained, so you can't completely pull them off from the work and completely train them, and explain the purpose of the training and introduce the subject. Syllabus, so you can have, this is one of the ways to plan your training, who will do what training and what is the methods they used and the timing. So if you are very
Nice,
clear of
nice.
this plan, it will be very easy to execute and conduct the training program. And as I told yesterday also, biomedical waste rules mandates training of uh, healthcare workers, and more importantly, I think waste handlers and nurses play a very important role. For them, the training should be ongoing, and because they need reinforcement, you need to apply it frequently. And for preparation of the training, you must understand the trainees can be from any age, from very young age to, that means up to 18 to even the higher age group. So that's kind of group you might get. And in education also, they can be as low as not being literate to little bit well educated also. And they all, most of them come with experience also. So you must keep in mind of these characteristics, and they may be with or without motivation, or with or without English knowledge. So please study the characteristics of your participants, and accordingly you try to engage them during the training. And your waste handlers can be from different zones. They can come, there can be the ones who can be handling waste directly, especially in OT, emergency room, labor room, ICUs. Okay, these are the places you can they are there, or the ones who can are collectors. That is, they are involved in the collection, transportation, and storage, cleaning in charge, storekeepers, or they could be ones who are working at the storage area, or the ones who are working at the common biomedical waste treatment facility, handling the waste directly, or treating and finally disposing the waste. So these waste handlers can come from various zones, and based on the risk, you can keep that in mind and train the workers. So topics, what topics you will talk of? It could range from introduction, talk of rules so that they understand the seriousness. You can talk of all the steps of waste management, starting from segregation, collection, transportation, storage, and treatment and disposal. Okay, here we should know what we need to talk. So keeping in mind the waste handler, we must talk as required to them, as how safely they collect waste, how safely they handle the equipments. Okay, they need not know the technicalities of the operations, they must know how to handle them waste safely, so that they do not harm themselves or the environment. How to handle the sharps, how to handle the plastics and hygiene, and how to use the PPE and how to dispose them. All these things are very critical, so that if for this information, and most of the time bring in demonstration or hands-on training, kind of training, so that they'll be better equipped with taking guard of their occupational safety. So, informal, what are the methodologies you can adopt? It could be informal participatory teaching, just you go there, talk, and discuss with them. Or it could be demonstration, you can show them how to do, like hand hygiene, how to do it, 10 steps of hygiene. Or you can ask them to observe and note. For example, you can send them to one of the site and ask them to simply observe and say what is right and what is wrong. That also opens their eyes, and they will be able in a position to say this is right, this is wrong, and they must not do like that. So that gives a learning process also for them. And also, or it could be a discussion workshop mode, or visit to the healthcare facility or the CBWTF. See, we especially when we train, we do take them to the different sites of uh, waste generation. That is to the hospital rounds, wards. We will take them, OTs, OPDs. There we ask them to just observe and look for all the different waste management practices. Is the color coded bins are correct? Correct liners are there? Okay, matching liners are there, and whether segregation has happened properly. Okay, we find out whether the people are not touching the screens, whether the segregation is filled outside. Okay, and is there any mixing of waste? All this they will observe, and at the end of the workshop, they will give us the feedback. So this will help one to correct ourselves. They might say that recapping the needles when we saw that it is not correct, especially for nurse training and all, we'll look at that. Again, in if they visit to the CBW, they'll know what is happening of the waste finally there, and how it's going to play an important role for them to handle the waste in their healthcare facility. So, as much as possible, get them to do activities and learn. Like you can have segregation exercise. We do flag exercise in our hospital. We give them different color codes, badges, and ask them to raise the show the waste picture, and we ask them to raise the. Yesterday we showed no segregation exercise, the last week I think. We gave the picture and ask them which color coded bin it goes. So they show the flags or the cards. Okay, they do the such activity. Role play. If there is injury, how to handle that situation. So these are some of the methodology you can adopt while planning for waste handlers training. Teaching aids minimal you require, because you don't require too much of talking is not good. Better have more of demonstration. As I told, have equipment, have color coded bins there, have some waste materials so that they can segregate and understand, or have gloves to demonstrate how to wear the gloves, have this soap solution so that they can use it and show the hand hygiene and rub also. Okay, so directly when it comes to preparation, show you have to schedule, communicate to them that this is going to happen, conduct, and most important, one more component is evaluate. Look at your training, whether it is worked. Immediate evaluation, pre and post test is the important action. Later on, a long term effect, you can also see how the practices are going on. That is one of the long term action, because finally we want a behavior change which is happening at your end of the things. Okay, to summarize, any questions at this end? Any questions? Yes, no? Or you're not listened? Are you all with
Six
me?
topics. Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
Six
thank you.
topics.
Pardon?
There are six topics.
6 topics. Okay. So to summarize, we have principles of effective communication. It has to be unambiguous, simple, interactive, stimulating, and cordial. What are the critical elements of learning? We have motivation, reinforcement, retention, and transference. And types of teaching we learned of instructor centered, content centered, learner centered, and participatory learning. Methods of teaching, there are various methods based on your availability of resources and the people whom you are training. You can decide whether it's lecture you want to adopt, or tutorials, or discussion, or role play, or demonstration, or work-based experiential learning. And also you should know which audiovisual aids you want to use. Don't use audiovisual aids just for using it, and follow the principles of adult learning, because they are self-directed, they're goal-oriented and practical motivated people. Okay, and for training plan in place, you need to have administrative and logistic arrangements in place. Have know the training profile, syllabus, duration, and also have the evaluation in place, so that you have comprehensively know that whether your training has been effective or not. Okay, I think this is the thing. Summarily, we have covered the topic. Any questions?
Ma'am, can you tell me about the exam related questions answer?
Which one?
Exam related questions, exams.
In this, okay, they can ask one, what are the types of learning, teaching aids, audiovisual aids, then how to plan a training program for waste handlers, and different methods of teaching, these things, advantages and disadvantages they can ask. Then barriers of communication is one of the important question most of the time they ask. I think that's it. Principles of communication. Okay.
Ma'am,
Any
what will be
other?
the project guide? BHMP 101 subject project guide.
This one, which I spoke, 102, BHM 102, Unit
No,
4.
no,
Huh?
no. I'm telling another thing. I'm telling that BHMP 101 project guide. Can you
Mm-hmm.
tell me about?
Project guide. Your chosen project guide, is it? Project, is it?
Yeah, ma'am. Project guide.
Yeah, you have to choose a topic. Like it's a small research you will do. Okay, your depends on which place you're working, and based on that, you can pick up small research. Like for simple, I'll give you example. You can look at hospital acquired infections in your workplace, or you can see hand hygiene compliance. Okay, you come up with a research topic introduction. Then you have the objectives, methodology of how you're going to collect the data, then the results and discussion. It's a brief kind of research topic project which you'll do in your workplace. Okay, or needle stick injuries, incidents of needle stick injury in your hospitals. Okay, for the last 5 years, what has been the reason, what is the profile of injuries, what is being done for the injuries, that you can look at. Okay.
Ma'am, what will be the project assignment? Project guide assignment.
No, that is only the project guide. It means it tells you what project to be taken. You have to choose a topic, and after that, your guide, whoever they assign the guide, wherever is your center, the center counselor will help you to design the study and conduct and make a report. Okay. If no other questions, then
Ma'am, each topic there are several points. So
uh,
at least 5 points we should remember.
for which one?
I'm telling the variations of communications. There are many points are there. So about 5 points we should remember. That's enough.
5 points you have to remember. Is it what you are asking?
Yeah, I'm telling that there are in the books there are many points are there. So we should remember at least 5 points, and that's for the enough in
Yeah.
any.
See, you know better as you read, no? If there is lot of things,
Yeah,
you go by
because
points, remember and write. No problem. It's
yeah
not very hard at first to know all the points.
in the books there are many points are there.
Correct, correct. Obviously, you can't read the complete thing, right? At least broadly, for example, lecture advantages in design, there are so many points. At least 2, 3 points each, you must be aware of it. So, if there are no questions, shall I call it a day?
Ma'am, will you provide the exam related questions PDF?
We don't provide. We have to go through the last yeah, questions which are there on the website directly. We are not going to provide as such because there's so many volumes.
Ma'am,
No, yeah.
Okay.
ma'am, please make a WhatsApp group so that we can
I
get
think
that.
Chika madam has done. I think no. I think there is a group already from your end.
Where are the group,
Ma'am,
ma'am? We don't know the group. We don't
I
know
think
the
you
group.
already have a group there. No, we made
I am
the.
not in the group, ma'am.
Then I should ask regional center. Can you those people who are there? Can you ask him to share to me? How did you join the meeting then? You must be in some
Ma'am, from mail. Ma'am, I got the mail.
mail, is it?
I'm also
Okay.
not in the WhatsApp group, ma'am.
Yeah, we
Someone
are
is
from the
from the
mail.
Bhubaneswar?
From mail we join the classes, but
From
we
the
are not
mail
in the
you
WhatsApp
joined,
group.
is it?
Yeah, we are not in the WhatsApp
Anybody is
group.
from the Bhubaneswar Regional Center? Sir?
Calcutta Region Center,
I
Kolkata.
will tell the people there to make a group. Nobody is there in the group, WhatsApp group?
No,
Only
ma'am.
few members are
No,
not
ma'am.
there in that group,
No,
ma'am.
ma'am, we are not in the WhatsApp group.
Dr. Neha, you're in the group?
No, ma'am, I'm not in the group.
Shamanta, you?
No, ma'am, I'm also not in the group. I requested,
Santosh?
but they have not added me.
You're not added. Dr. Santosh? Let me ask them. I'll ask them to make a group
I'm
and
not in the
include you
group.
on there. Huh? So that you can all interact in that. Or you make your group yourself. You can interact and change. But
We do not have phone numbers of each other, no?
okay,
Yeah,
okay. We will ask one. I'll tell them. I'll tell the RC center. Okay.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you. All the best. Bye.
thank you, ma'am.
Bye.
Thank you,
Thank you,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.